So imagine nearly starting World War III over a tree. I know, it sounds totally ridiculous, right? But in today's Explainer, we're going to unpack literally one of the most volatile moments in modern history. Back in 1976, two American officers were brutally killed by North Korean soldiers. Now, America's response wasn't to immediately launch missiles or drop bombs. No. To send a message, they mobilized a staggering, almost unbelievable display of military might, and they directed all of it at a single piece of wood.
You might be wondering, seriously? World War III over a tree? Yeah, it sounds crazy, but the reality of America's response was dead serious. We're talking about dispatching heavy bombers, fighter jets, attack helicopters, and hundreds of heavily armed troops just to, well, cut down a poplar tree. To really wrap our heads around how a basic landscaping task nearly triggered global annihilation, we have to understand exactly where this tree was planted.
Chapter 1. The World's Most Dangerous Border.
Following the end of the Korean War, North and South Korea were left fiercely divided by this lethal, heavily fortified line. It's the Demilitarized Zone, or as we usually call it, the DMZ. Now, despite the name, it's actually one of the most heavily armed places on the entire planet. Inside what's known as the Joint Security Area, American and South Korean troops worked face-to-face with North Korean soldiers. I mean, we're talking terrifyingly close proximity here. The whole place was essentially a giant powder keg just waiting for a spark, but absolutely nobody expected a tree to be the match.
Chapter 2. The Poplar Tree Problem.
Okay, picture this. Right near a United Nations checkpoint stood this massive poplar tree, and over time it had grown so huge that it completely blocked the line of sight between observation posts. It was a massive security blind spot. So to fix this, American and South Korean troops decided to just trim some branches. You know, a seemingly routine job, just a simple landscaping detail, right? Well, in the Joint Security Area, literally nothing is simple. North Korea looked at this and didn't see maintenance. They saw a direct, aggressive threat.
Chapter 3. The Axe Murder Incident.
It's the morning of August 18, 1976. A small, lightly armed work party arrives at the tree, carrying axes to trim those branches. But just moments later, North Korean soldiers rush out to confront them. What starts as an intense, heated argument over this tree quickly turns into absolute chaos. The situation escalates in a flash. North Korean troops overpower the workers, they grab the very axes brought to trim the tree, and they launch this incredibly brutal attack.
The outcome of this ambush was just utterly tragic. Two American officers, Captain Arthur Boniface and Lieutenant Mark Barrett, were killed in the melee. Several other members of the work party were seriously injured as well. In just a matter of minutes, the tense, fragile peace of the DMZ was totally shattered by horrific violence.
And the world was completely stunned. A paralyzing realization swept through global leaders. War actually seemed inevitable. I mean, this sudden bloodshed in one of the most volatile places on Earth had everyone bracing for a massive armed conflict. The ball was entirely in America's court now. So think about it. How do you respond to the brutal murder of two officers without immediately triggering a global war?
Chapter 4. The Overwhelming American Response. Well, refusing to back down, the U.S. government decided to send an earth-shattering message. They launched what they called Operation Paul Bunyan. And guys, the sheer scale of what happened next was mind-boggling. Look at the contrast here. The objective was incredibly mundane, one single poplar tree. Yet the deployment? It was an apocalyptic scale of military force. The United States was mobilizing a terrifying amount of firepower for one reason: to finish the landscaping job that Captain Boniface and Lieutenant Barrett had started. Just picture this incredible scene. Hundreds of heavily armed soldiers push right into the DMZ. High above, B-52 bombers are circling menacingly. F-4 Phantom fighters are standing ready on the tarmac, while attack helicopters hover just out of reach. Out at sea, massive aircraft carriers are moving into strategic position. You've got snipers taking up posts on nearby rooftops. And right in the very center of this terrifying, overwhelming show of military might are combat engineers. Their weapons? Chainsaws. Their mission? Cut the tree down. Chapter 5. The 42-minute standoff.
So as these engineers step up to this massive poplar tree, the deafening roar of chainsaws echoes across the Joint Security Area. Standing mere yards away are thousands of heavily armed North Korean troops, just watching, in absolute dead silence. Everyone is waiting. Every single finger is on a trigger,
One wrong move, one nervous flinch. Actually, scratch that. Even a single misfire from either side could have instantly triggered World War III.
42 minutes. That's how long it took. 42 excruciating, agonizing minutes for those engineers to cut through that enormous tree. For almost 3/4 of an hour, the entire world essentially held its breath, waiting to see if humanity was about to plunge right back into global war.
But then, the tree fell. It was finally gone. And amazingly, despite this unbelievable concentration of weapons and pure animosity packed into such a small area, not a single shot was fired. The overwhelming, undeniable show of American force had worked. North Korea stood down, and the operation was a complete success without any further violence.
If you visit the Joint Security Area today, you'll see that only a stump remains where that giant poplar once stood. It's a really chilling, physical reminder of arguably the Cold War's most dangerous moment. It stands as a permanent marker honoring the men who lost their lives, and a testament to the day the world stood on the absolute brink of destruction.
Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. Could World War III really have started over something so small? It kind of forces us to step back and realize just how incredibly fragile global peace truly was back in 1976, and honestly, perhaps how fragile it still is today. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the history that shaped our world.